Welcome to the Big Picture Manatee, everyone. We are here for an exciting episode. It is our 50th episode. Woo! So, got my colleagues here, 50th episode. Wow, who would have thought, right? I'm Sherry Corrier, former county administrator with Manatee County government, and I am passing it off to Reggie.
Arrive alive in 2025. Greetings to everyone. My name is Reggie Bellamy and former County Commissioner District 2, talking about the Big 5-0. How exciting that is. I remember when all this started, and now we are at 50 episodes. And you know what? In my mind, we got 500,000 more to continue to impact and inform our community. What do you think about that, Misty?
50 is sweet. Yes, it is. I'm Misty Servia, former county commissioner with Reggie for Manatee, and former Manatee County planner, and currently working in DeSoto County, and happy to be here with you guys.
Great. You know, Reggie, when you said that about having, this is the 50th, I can remember when we were like, will there be enough to talk about? What will we talk about? How will we educate and inform and engage the community? And we have like a list of like Santa Claus list, a mile long of things that we could be doing. But today we are going to talk to you about the Manatee County Seaport Manatee. And that is an important subject because there has been a new little development out there, but we wanted to take an opportunity while we're talking about the recent project denial that Reggie's going to talk more about, but we're going to talk about too about how all of you need to know that the Board of County Commissioners is also your Port Authority. And I'm pretty lucky to be here with two former Port Authority members who have an opportunity to kind of help you guys understand, how projects come forward and what's happening out there. So, Reggie, start talking about what just recently happened out there at Seaport.
Well, when you talk about the Seaport Manatee, obviously that's very close to me. I was fortunate enough to be the chair of the Seaport for a few years, and there's a lot of great things that go on out there. One of the things that I would want, the community to kind of make sure they keep in mind is that, there's a difference between government and with the county, with taxpayers' dollars, than that $100 million machine that operates out there at the Port Authority with exporting and importing. And it's a lot of times we can easily get that confused, and just thinking about the snafu is the word. Thinking about the denial and, some of the occurrences that took place that led up to it. One of the things that I think is very, very important for us to kind of, hash out and make sure we're out in there. First of all, when I was the chairman of the board, one of the things that I really didn't want is an outcry like we have right now. And I always take and tell people to make good decisions and avoid the unnecessary. So my thoughts are, with all parties involved, how could this have been avoided? And the timeline, the timeline in my mindset is something that may have been looked at a little bit more strategically and a little bit more intentionally. And what I mean by that, just going back for the first time it came up in October of 2024, I mean, three and a half weeks after that, you have an election. And with you having that election, I can guarantee you're sure that potentially somebody that's there now may not make it through the election, because that's just the American way. That's why you have, that's why you have the elections, So that timeline is one of the things, and then my biggest thing was the briefings and where the commissioners informed and where they're involved, with it. But we do know one thing: the three that were just voted in, it's very likely that they were not involved. And sometimes when you get things rammed down your throat and information come at you at a fast pace, you'd rather err on the side of caution and just say, hey, hold on, I don't know whether I got enough information, so I'm not going to necessarily move forward. But just looking at the information that was on the within the newspaper and everything like that, and knowing a little bit more behind the scenes about the port, My thing is more like, how could this have been avoided? What are your thoughts, Mister?
Well, thanks for teeing that up for me there, Reggie. Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts. I guess I'll start with, the price tag on this one was pretty high. It was like $21 million for just over 100 acres. And we all agree that that property that surrounds Seaport Manatee is so important, not only now, but to the future of keeping that port as a really viable and one that can expand and move quickly to get, products from ships out. We all agree with that, right? I don't know, this one, you guys, it just didn't pass the smell test for me when you saw the rush that was put on this one. And while I haven't dealt in dealings like this even as a commissioner, but to have such a short due diligence time and before your money goes hard, and I think what was it, like a $500,000 that we lost is gone, right?
Yeah,
$500,000
that's
is
right.
gone
Yep.
because we had what, something like 30 days to close was the last contract.
Yep.
30 days to close.
Right.
I mean, the last house we bought, we were pushing to get it done in 30 days.
Right.
That was tough. So I don't know. It was too rushed. And when I look at who was involved in this deal and the timing of it coming together, I think those new commissioners knew they better dig a little bit deeper.
Yeah. Yeah. So, um, what really kind of was a red flag for me, the company name Fortress 2020 Land Co. LLC. And probably not surprising to people, anything that was going on in 2020 when COVID was going on and everything was happening and things were changing at the commission level, at least in my world. I was just a little leery, but when you look at exactly where this is, it's like you said, Misty, it's about 103 acres across from the port there, that was foreclosed on back then, and it's near the Piney Point stacks and HRK Holdings, which had that, and it just, there's it's interesting to me, and maybe I'm a little cynical about it, but there's a lot of common names involved in this whole thing on all sides, right? So it's a kind of a bad place anyway, right there. I mean, when you guys were commissioners, we did bring in the companies that are next there, Allied Chemical and the other company. And I mean, those were done with economic development in mind and jobs created and return on investment and requirements from the companies. But we didn't give up, you know, millions and millions of dollars, for those lands. So I know that Seaport Manatee now is landlocked, and that every single piece of land around it is valuable. But I'm with both of you. It didn't seem like there was enough time to really go through this in detail. I can remember in October, I did remember that Commissioner Cruz at that time threw up a red flag. He threw up a red flag about the deal, just period, about the deal and about what it meant to the county. And so, thinking that there was really nothing done about, informing everyone and making that deal any better, that's what threw up a red flag for me. So I was pretty shocked to see that it was denied and at least pushed back.
Well, one of the things that I would say is we have to make sure we keep in mind that the government business is a little bit different than the port business, and we have to keep that out there. And there have been countless amount of transactions and things to take place at the port for the port to continue to expand and continue to make sure they have economic impact. Now, that being said, there was some discussion about, some of the players that, put a lot of this together, and with Commissioner Cruz, pulling in, and then some information not being available for the other commissioners and things like that. As the port authority as the chair of the port, there was a time where they went on a recess, right? And just I would have went bonkers as the chair, because again, these are the type of flare-ups that we don't want, because now it create a different mindset where we have to go a little bit deeper as though something wrong could have potentially been done. And if you have commissioners that don't have their information, I'm not necessarily sure that that is the seller's issue as much as that, comes from the other side. But my concern with you talking about the players and the people that are involved, and I mean the legal minds are here in this situation right here. And some of these individuals that are involved have been the brain trust of the county. And I'm not necessarily sure with those strides, we have to make sure that line stays different between government and the private industry. But the other side of that, you having knowledge of that, right? You having knowledge of that, I'm sure, you want to make a good decision and avoid the necessary, because now you're in a denial process. And that has cost everybody dollars. And that's what you don't, that is what you don't want. The cost dollars and now have to go back to the table, which is very, very unfortunate.
When I see deals like this, and I hear that mantra that we've all heard for so long, and that is business, knows how to run things efficiently, and governments need to run more like a business. Well, Seaport Manatee is a very successful business, and I have a lot of confidence in Carlos Bucaris. I always have. I enjoyed working with him. I think he's done a really good job. I I believe, just my opinion, that he was kind of pressured into this one. I don't know, just knowing him, that's how I felt with his input. But tell me this, guys, how does it make good business sense to pay $21 million dollars for something and then lease half of it back to someone for $10,000 a year? Can you help me understand that? Because to me, that does not seem like a good business decision. It seems a little shady. I hate to go there, but am I missing something?
No, I don't think you are. And I mean, maybe what you're missing is to also add that there's a large part of it that will never be able to be used because it's wetland and unable to be used. It's protected. So, I mean, really, just like the entire ROI of this, it what didn't make any sense. And I think you mentioned Carlos Bucaris, and obviously, I have been out of the picture and in this picture for quite a while. But if I step back and look at it, if it was really such a great deal, I would have thought Carlos would have been there trying to keep the deal moving, right? I mean, he would have, but I don't think there was much said. I think it was maybe, the clearly at this time, not a great deal. And then the last thing I'll say too on that is that anytime you think you're going to get a $10 million grant from the state and you're going to spend your own money before you get any kind of a commitment from that, it's not a good deal. And I guarantee you that was said to us many times. So that grant didn't come through yet either. So, I mean, should something change, and there should be other partners in this, who knows? Maybe it starts to get better, but there also really was no identification of what was going to be done on that property.
Well, based on the history, and I'm not getting into defense mode. I'm gonna tap out on this in a few minutes because, but based on the history of the port, and bringing money in, I can feel, the question was out, what are projections, and how much is it going to bring in and things like that, and that had not yet been identified. But I'm sure, like our good friend, Commissioner Banak used to always say, the devil is in the details, and some of those details we may not, have, information on, and we probably may never get it if they don't bring it back to the table, and whether it's from the port side or whether it's from the opposing side. I think the reality of it is there's some details there, and there's some communications there that we don't have information on. I would have to stand to say from the port standpoint, if this is a business deal and the confidence that I have in Carlos Bucarez, and he feels like it's going to be a win-win for the port, I think that's the road that we all will be interested in going down. However, liking his presence, like you said, Misty, and some of the other hiccups that are out there without calling things. I mean, it's very interesting, what the next steps would be. But guys, I'll tell you, there's a lot of things going on with development and land purchase, and Misty and I and Sherry was beat up because of land purchase and everything like that. And we did not, we thought it out, we talked it out, and everybody was involved. Everybody was involved, and we got beat down. And it's just ironic how some of this come back and some of the players that's involved, right? Some of the players that's involved, and like Misty said, the dollar amount, the dollar amount, which is, I mean, hey, sound like the pot calling kettle black, but we got to do something different than this standpoint, and just make sure you all know within development and purchase, there's a lot of eyes that are watching this out here, and I think the port. This is what I'm disappointed in. The port does not deserve this type of black eye, and that's what I'm disappointed in.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I don't know what else to say about that. I think we've covered that one pretty good. I am really happy with how this new board went through this process and pumped the brakes. I'll say that. So thank goodness elections do have consequences. And in this case, I think it was a save because yeah, that just looked like a sour deal all the way around. And thank you, Reggie, for bringing up those past land deals that the three of us have been hammered for, because that one deal that we're talking about that I think I see in your eyes, turns out that was a pretty good deal. Pretty good deal that the previous board hammered that one away. So we're
Well,
not going to get into that much, but I'm just very happy that we have a good board that's very thoughtful and deliberate and talking through these issues.
I got to, Sherry. I'm sorry, I got to before you close this out. That deal that we done was so good. They went back and looked at it and made sure they got it done.
I know. Well, I bet you we're going to talk about that again in another episode, probably, right? Right. All right. Well,
Yeah.
All right. So, everybody, I think what we're trying to say today from the Big Picture Manatee on our 50th episode is things are still very exciting. Things are changing. We have a very interesting thing that happened. We want you all to know that it's not really common that this happens, and that we've got two experts on here that were on the Port Authority, the chairs of the Port Authority there, for a couple years, Reggie, and as we've all worked with Carlos, and we know that these things don't just happen. There's a lot that has to go on to get a project going. So for it to be stopped and pulled back, interesting. Glad they did it. Glad everybody's looking at it. And we will probably be talking about that again in a future episode as well, depending on what happens. And we want to thank everybody for being here today and for joining us in this 50th episode. And please watch us on YouTube at the Big Picture Manatee. And you guys take it away and close us out, either one of you.
Hey, thanks everybody. I'm excited.
Yep. Thank you all for watching. Follow us on Facebook. Please go to our website. Please follow us on YouTube. We appreciate you all, and let us know what else you want to talk about. We've got a long list, but hey, we're looking for good ideas too.
Great.
So take care.